Welcome back to Coffee with the Authors, where we decode the craft and business of writing. And today we're going to talk about something that's kind of a precursor to writing, which is reading. Studies have shown that something like 85% of all adults in the US want to write a book. And studies have also shown that only about half of all adults in the United States read a novel last year. And of those who did, most of them only read a few. So you put those two things together, and clearly more people want to write than want to read, which is kind of like someone saying, I want to be a musician, but I don't really want to listen to music, which is probably unlikely to be a successful path, right?
I think that partly comes from that when we go to school, we have writing in school, we think we know how to write, and then we become adults and we write social posts and we write emails and those kinds of things. And so writing is part of life. And so we think that just expanding on that ability can yield a novel, which is not really the case. There's a craft to writing publishable fiction that goes way beyond sentence structure and punctuation and just the stuff that we learn in school. It's like learning to play an instrument or to sculpt or to paint or to do any kind of creative thing. It requires practice, and practice takes time and effort to hone your skill into making it one that can become publishable work.
Kind of like a musician actually spends a whole lot of time listening to music. If you want to be a writer, you should spend a bunch of your time reading well-written books in your field and outside your field. For the sake of this discussion, let's consider well-written, because that could be a whole can of worms. What does well-written mean? It could be books that sell really well, that are critically acclaimed, that got great reviews or win awards or whatever. But really, for the sake of this, let's just say well-written means the kind of book you want to write. When you read a book, you can go, I'd be proud to have written that. That's the kind of book I want to write. Those are the sorts of books you should devour if you want to actually be able to then turn around and write fiction.
My educational background isn't in writing, but when I was a kid, I read a whole bunch. And then as an adult after college, I came back to reading again. So reading was part of my DNA. And I think the best thing you can do if you want to be a writer is to be a voracious reader. And now as a reader, you should read like a writer. Try to figure out what it is that the author did that created that emotional connection that you feel with the story. Try to figure out how they're structuring their work to have the effect on you that it has. It's a whole different way of reading, to read in analyzing the writing as in how it's been put together. And then try that, adopt that, see if that works for you, if it's something you really like.
They say good artists borrow and great artists steal. There's a certain amount of truth to that. We almost all start out by kind of emulating our heroes. I did that musically, I did that with writing. And then as you continue to work at your craft, you take kind of an amalgamation of all of your influences. They all kind of go together, and then they get filtered through your personal sense of life. And then that becomes your unique style or your unique voice. And some people say they don't want to be influenced by other people's work while they're writing. And I can kind of understand that as far as it goes, but overall, you should at some point read pretty widely in your field before you write in it. I mean, we have met people who want to write in a certain genre, and then you talk to them and they never read in that genre. Like they haven't read a single book in that particular field. They just want to write in that, maybe because they think it's a hot topic nowadays or whatever. But really, reading in your field, instead of influencing you, what it'll probably do is introduce you to kind of the tropes of that particular genre or subgenre, which you then can either, if they're corny, you can avoid them, or if they're useful, you can either use them or maybe kind of turn them around and kind of subvert those tropes, use them, but kind of backwards or something. But it's just, you can tell when someone is writing in a field they've never read in. Like you read a science fiction book by someone who's never read a word of science fiction. And if you yourself are a science fiction reader, you can tell like almost right away, like this person has never read a word of science fiction.
It's actually surprising to us how often we've presented at conferences or something where we're giving a workshop, and then the people in the workshop, they want to do this particular thing. But when you refer to books that are currently popular, in that field, they just give you a blank look, and you ask them, raise your hand if you read such and such, and it's like no hands go up. So so really, that's a big part of writing in a field, is to read current work that's being published in that field, so you know what you're aiming for.
Right. It's not that you're trying to copy it.
Right.
You're just trying to kind of know where you fit in. Think about this. Two things. Number one, you're competing with people who have read in that field
Yeah.
probably for years, read and written in that field for years, and they understand it deeply, and they understand their readership. And your target market is readers who have read widely and deeply in that field for years. So if you're competing with mystery writers who have been doing this for years, and your supposed readers are people who've been reading mysteries for years, and you haven't read mysteries for years, you're obviously at a pretty big disadvantage right from the get-go.
And if you're doing a mashup of genres, then you need to be familiar with all the genres that you're mashing up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, kind of in summary, studying books that are in your field can be like a master class for your writing. And it's one that if you engage in that, you will become a better writer.
Okay, well, that's our topic for this week. We hope you found it useful. And if you like what we're doing here, like, share, and subscribe.
And as always, dream big, work hard, don't give up.
Keep writing. Oh, I didn't record it.